What is up? What is up? What is up? Hit that like button when you come in. Hit the like button when you come in. And I appreciate you for waiting. Well, today is going to be the first of many lives that I'm going to do. And I actually don't like doing lives, if you can believe that or not. But what I wanted to do is go over the actual issue with American voting rights and the new rules or voter ID policies that's in place and being enforced all across the country. And the biggest issue is coming up in Georgia, simply because Brian Kemp is the one that is running for governor, and he is the current Secretary of State. Appreciate you, Jiggy. And he's running against Stacey Abrams. And the thing with Stacey Abrams, it's being uncovered that a lot of voter suppression has been going on. And with it, it's a policy that's being enforced. And I'm not actually sure how to put this into a real perspective, which is why I don't like doing lives. But we're gonna make it do what it do anyway. All right. Basically, what it does is the new voter ID laws that are going across right now, currently in 9 states, is requiring an exact match of either your DMV. Okay, I'll get it, Jiggy. It's requiring an exact match of either your DMV or your Social Security card. And generally what's being affected is in Georgia, you have 35% of the voters, of registered voters, are black. 70% of those that are being affected by this are black. And there's another little edge in there about another 20% that are actually minorities that are not of a racial diverse culture other than, you know, the Latino, because there's a huge Latino population in Georgia. But the thing that has everybody in uproar about this particular race is the fact that the Secretary of State is the actual candidate. And he is responsible for these policies being put into effect and enforced. Now, the biggest issue that most people are having is the fact that they don't know what to do when they're turned away at the polls. Well, one of the things that kind of countermand the Voter Registration Act is the fact that if they are turning you around because of the exact match rule or policy, do not leave the polls. Sinbad actually tweeted this out on yesterday. And his thing was, or actually the actual thing that you need to do is ask for a provisional ballot. This way it still gets counted. The only difference is it's going to be mostly handwritten and not on the computer. So therefore you're still able to vote. Because what's happening is Brennan Center of Justice actually did a poll, and the 9 states that are mostly affected, Georgia being number 1, Texas, my other home state, North Carolina, Indiana, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, and Arkansas, all are getting the effects of these new voter registration or voter ID policies. Now again, if you are one of those that are in one of these states, you can. Okay, appreciate you, Blue Ghost and Jiggy again. But what you can ask for is a provisional. Okay, that's a great question on that. It's not necessarily a color. It's those that are being affected happen to be in a certain racial diversity. And it is a purposeful law because it was one that was deemed to stop a certain group from voting, because unfortunately there are a lot of folks that look like me that have unique and colorful ass names that nobody knows how to spell, even them. And therefore, whenever they're signing up for a driver's license, they are not the only ones that are coming in contact with these ridiculous names, and therefore these names are being misspelled. And by them misspelling it, they are being turned away from the ballot box. Now, the reason this is being done is because they are trying to limit the fraud. That is the argument. The issue is it's affecting only the minority classes. And again, most minorities look like me. Now, which actually kind of threw me for a loop when I saw North Dakota on there, because I ain't a whole bunch of folks in North Dakota that look like me, and I'm not sure what their actual gripe is. But whatever the case, because there's a Shaniqua or a Jaquan or somewhere up in there, yeah, I don't think they need to be voting anyway. That's just my, asshole opinion on that. But the whole thing is, it goes down to what is taught as suffrage. Suffrage is Latin, or excuse me, is derives from the Latin word suffragum, and it means vote, or the right to vote, which is, like it was also brought up, the only requirement for voting is citizenship or American nationalism, because you have to have a certain amount of time or a certain amount of residency inside the states in order to be legally deemed to vote. And those are things that are also being challenged within this voter ID policy. Now, what happens is, in the Voters' Rights Act of 1965, there was a lot of things that were brought forth because there was an attempt to stop the poor from voting. Now again, these are things that were placed upon folks that looked like me, because we were not able to get into those kind of arenas, because it was only deemed for property owners. So that was deemed unconstitutional through the, 14th Amendment, which is the Equal Protection Clause, as well as this voter ID, the rules and regulations of it are also unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. These are all things that derive from Harper v. Virginia Board of Elections 383 U.S. 663 1966. And actually, I had my stuff open already, but when you're looking at it on its face, it doesn't seem that it's supposed to be a class type deal, but unfortunately it is, because of, why in the hell? Give me 2 seconds. None of this shit is popping up. See, if I wasn't live, y'all wouldn't see this shit. That ain't it either. Boom. Boom, there we go. Alright, now when we're talking about the 15th Amendment, in 1870, the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on accordance of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Now, this is the reason why, if you have been incarcerated and you are no longer what they call on paper, if you're not doing any, what is it called? Probation or parole type duties, you are quote unquote reinstated to have your voters' rights, actually having your voters' right reinstated if you are not on those types of papers. Now, the 19th Amendment in 1920, the right of citizens to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the states or any state on account of sex. So men and women are able to vote no matter what, even if you're transgender or any of that other stuff. The 23rd Amendment, 1961, provides that the residents of D.C. can vote for the president and vice president, because there was a shift in where the capital was and all that good stuff, and the District of Columbia is not necessarily, why are you texting me? Not necessarily considered a state. It is literally the district. 24th Amendment, the right of citizens to vote in any primary, which is where we're at now, or other election for the president or vice president, or elections for president or vice president, or for Senate or representatives in Congress shall not be abridged by the United States or any states for reason of failure to pay any poll taxes or other tax. The 26th Amendment in 1971, the rights of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state according to age. Now, all of these are things that stem from the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And it is enforceable through the Equal Protection Clause, which is why we bring it up, because when you're looking at everything on its face, while a misspelled name should not stop an American citizen or an American nationalized person from voting or exercising a right, these are things that are placed into this policy that are being enforced, again, in 9 separate states. And I think somebody put up the fact that it's also being enforced in Nevada, which, for whatever reason, they did not make my list. And that's actually, and yes, I do think the midterms will be one of the most critical in history, because I think there's going to be a huge shift. But if you also remember, Nevada was one of the states that Trump, while running, actually sued because of illegal voting practices that were done during right before the presidential election. And do I need to move? I think no. Yeah. No. But yeah, he actually got into it because the illegal voter practices. Most of us actually remember Florida for doing things that were illegal. But for this section, it's just understanding that certain provisions, if they are turning you away at the poll and you are a naturalized citizen, ask for a provisional ballot. Do not leave. They cannot deny you your right to vote if you are a citizen. And I have to stress that, because I think somebody asked about or stated something about illegal immigrants voting. I doubt if anybody that has to show an ID for anything, that if they're not legal, they're not going to try to do it. I don't really think they actually care, to be honest with you. But the fact is, provisional ballots if you are turned away and you are an American citizen. You've been a resident for more than 6 months. And that's all I have for right now. I'm going to be back on probably in about 5 hours, which is going to be about 6 o'clock my time, because right now it's a little after 1:40, 1:50. Okay, so it'll be about 7 o'clock my time. So chalk it up. That's 5 hours from now, and I hope to see you guys then. And while you're here, hit an absentee ballot if you cannot make it. The absentee ballots, they are actually, I believe most of them have been submitted, because they're not going to make the November 6th date. However, I don't know about all of them, because I know Texas is one of those. Even if you're in the armed forces, I think they've already submitted their ballots already. Yeah, the armed forces, their absentee ballots have already been submitted, unless they're overseas. And I think those are the only ones that are going to be counted after November 6th.
Well, they also have their online
Hold on. You gonna talk? I need you to move your cup. Okay.
Well, they also military and
I need you to be still. Now do it.
Any U.S. Armed Forces overseas are actually able to vote on time, because they have electronic votes that they implement over there, while in Iraq, or let that be anywhere else.
Now, even with state-issued elections.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because so long you're registered to that state and you have, let's say, the ID for that state, you can vote on those elections.
And that's online for the military.
Yeah,
And that works as their absentee ballot.
pretty much.
Okay. All right. I appreciate y'all. Give me about a couple hours and I'll be back on. And it's going to be the finishing on. Okay. It's going to be the finishing on the interrogations because to me it's one of the most critical parts because it was one that I've endured maybe at least 10 times in my life. And unfortunately, one of my younger children was subjected to it on at least 2 occasions. And I'll be back on and we'll have a conversation about it. If you're here, hit that like button for me. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And also remember, anybody that donates a bill, $100 or more, I will be doing an episode for you. So, see you guys in a couple hours.